let's talk about death.
So I had some free time. I'm home alone, all by myself, so I thought, why not do another session? It's free, it doesn't cost anything. I'm going to use all sorts of things to draw these lines. Oh, by the way, I'm reading this book. Stanisław Lem, Polish science fiction author, and because I'm from Poland, I've learned this language pretty well when I was a few years old, and now I can read it in its original version. And I remember reading books by Stanisław Lem, or rather stories, as an assignment in elementary school. And sadly, I was not really into that. Because it was an assignment, I didn't really feel like doing that, like reading. I can't find my glasses. That's not good. To use this. So when you're older, everything takes a little more time. Because first you have to wear your reading glasses. Oh, and I also noticed that the table shaking also makes the phone shake. I have to try to be more gentle with it. And here we go. Another drawing session. I'm going to try to come up with a challenge. I thought why not leave the mark that's a little bit more intense, apply more pressure to it, wonder what will happen. It's actually always better to make the corners darker, kind of like a vignette in an old photograph, because it really brings the eye towards the center more. It just looks better. The picture looks closed off. Sometimes the opposite is fine too, when you have something dark in the center and bright background. So we think we have rules, but then we can break them, and then turns out the rules don't apply anymore. Or we see someone break the rules, and it's like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. And then there's this like brief moment of jealousy, like, I could have broken those rules. Why do they get to break the rules, not me? I've been playing by the rules my whole life. It's not fair. I feel like I need this pencil to be a little bit sharper, lead a little longer and sharper. I'm going to be right back.
Hello, this is future me. The me that just went away to sharpen the pencil doesn't know yet that at some point the frame of the video will get skewed and there will be barely any drawing visible in the frame. So I'm going to fix it, but I'm going to delete the part of the video that has crooked frame, and then I'm going to use the new footage over the old speech because I've been saying some important things, I thought, so I won't throw away the audio, but I will add new video just from the point where I ended. I'm going to add this video in place of the broken one, and then I will continue with the drawing and maybe add a few words. I hope that works. See you later.
And I'm back. Hopefully nothing weird happened when I was away. So I have this like preferences that I developed over time. Like I want my graphite lead to be longer because I almost feel like when the graphite gets shorter, the wooden part of the pencil almost feels like it's obscuring the view for me. I need to see better. It's like more of the same. The kind of pattern movement that I'm using is kind of like little feathery lines, short lines. It's kind of, I feel like it's a little bit forceful, and I don't feel like it's meditative enough. So it's always nice to kind of try something and then decide, maybe it's not for me. I'm just going to go slower, and if it takes longer than one video, then so be it. I don't need to be sticking to just making a long video, because this video is what you call slow TV. It's not really your standard YouTube video. It's a little bit more like staring at the fireplace. There's really not much going on, but your mind actually creates thoughts and stories. So it's whatever you look at doesn't hijack your mind into following a story that might be kind of immediate and quick and concise. It's more like visual cues and maybe sound either put you to sleep, which is okay, or just kind of start to wander. Your mind starts to wander a little bit. And different kinds of focus that you can practice. It's not just one type of focus, and sadly a lot of humans on earth engage in only one kind of focus, this kind of hyper aware and hyper attentive focus, always on the lookout for something shiny. I call it the let me see if I can pronounce it right. Squirrelification of the mind. Although I think it's a disservice to the squirrels, because I don't think squirrels are that distracted. They're just quick animals. They're very busy and quick, but I don't think they have like ADHD, kind of project our own ailments on animals. And of course animals do have their temperaments depending on how they evolved to survive, and some animals have to be really quick because they don't have any other defenses or any other offenses to catch the prey or to run away from a predator. So some animals developed extra speed, while others developed body armor, like turtles, and immediately because of that, turtles don't need to be quick. Although stay away from snapping turtles. They can snap really quickly. They can extend their neck out of the shell really fast and really far. So, and then there are the sloths who are naturally slow. And I'll sometimes feel like sloth is my spirit animal. And it's kind of nice to not be in the rush because you don't have to figure out the way to slow down. And the sloths, depending on, because of the environment they live in, There are not many predators that could catch them in the trees. So since they're living high up in the branches, they don't get caught by predators. And sadly, the only moment when the sloths can be in danger is when they descend from the canopy and go to the ground to poop. So the only vulnerable time they are in, kind of true for humans too, is when they are in the bathroom. And they get down from the trees, and yeah, I don't know why they are unable to poop from the branches like birds, but maybe it's for the better, because if you happened to walk in the woods where the sloths live, and the sloth had to go to the bathroom right over your head, then it wouldn't be a fun experience. So what else is not fast? I don't know. I feel kind of relaxed today, so I don't really feel very esoteric or philosophizing. My philosophizing mode is on the low gear, or talking about nature, philosophy, or evolution. I've been feeling pretty good lately, obviously, because it's late spring and the weather finally cleared. It's almost like we can't really have a nice intermediate kind of weather. It's either too cold, very cold, end of May, cold, and then suddenly boom, heat wave. And like, where was I? Where was there ever a period of time when it was kind of a nice 75 degrees outside with the sun? When it's bearable, but I don't complain. I went near water today, because when it's so hot, I take my e-bike and I just go near water. And I went to a beach near Boston, Carson Beach. The water was still pretty cold and hardly anyone swam in the water, but I went in because it was so hot. I just really needed to cool off, and it worked magic. It was like heaven to kind of get used to the cold water enough to be able to just breaststroke in there, and then feel that almost like the cold kind of infusing your muscles, but in a nice way. And then when you're out of water, even though it's 90 degrees, you feel fresh. And then I biked back. It took almost no time to bike back. Biking through city was an ordeal, because city of Boston has not figured out the biker safety yet. They're trying. They did some new bike lanes, but the bike lanes are part of the road, so the drivers don't really acknowledge bikers. And most of the time when I take the bike lanes on the roads, they're blocked. They're blocked by so-called emergency stoppings. The people are stopping with their blinkers on, but they basically, I think they're just taking they take out. They don't really have to stop, but they do double park. And then people just obliviously cut me off. Like when you're biking and someone in front of you wants to turn right, they don't care. You have to be really careful not to be clipped by a car turning. And it just kind of destroys the whole peaceful mood that you put yourself in on the beach swimming, and then you have to get back home and you're full of rage again. Biking is an extreme survival activity in Boston, especially the Boston part of Boston is the kind of more touristy parts of town. Well, it's kind of boring. I feel like just strictly talking and drawing yields different results than when I just decide to just draw and take a lot more time, and maybe my drawings are a little larger. And most often when I draw without the camera, my drawings are in the portrait mode. There's different proportions, just different flow. It feels differently. The flow state should kick in anytime. This paper is a little weird. I don't know what kind of paper that is. It's some sort of a Canson sketching paper. It's thin, and it's the pencil kind of slides off of it without leaving a strong mark. I like papers that are a little bit more abrasive. I actually feel like the graphite really gets rubbed off against the texture of the paper, rather than kind of gliding on top. There are a lot of nuances that you kind of grow to notice the more you do something. And it's crazy, the more time you spend on something, the better you get at it, no matter what it is. And I recently kind of was in an argument with some commenter on Instagram. A person was kind of talking about the importance of skill and skill only in art. And I just told him to relax, because skill is not everything. Of course, skill is important in a sense that it's a byproduct of working on something repetitively for longer period of times. So obviously, if you're doing something every day for multiple hours, there's no other way but to get better at it, no matter what it is. You can get better at changing car tires, and then you can record your skills and put it on Instagram, and everybody will be like, oh, such mad skill at changing the tire. It's just clocking enough hours means that you gain those skills. So it's not a gift, it's not like some kind of supernatural gift. And also it's not really that you have to work hard, very hard, even though it does help. It's just that you have to really consistently put a lot of time into what you're doing. And of course it also helps to really enjoy it, to be obsessed with doing that, almost doing it compulsively, almost like looking forward to it. And of course there are levels of skills. You can learn to do something just right, intermediate level. And I found myself that, I think in my case, I tend to develop kind of intermediate skill levels not bad, but kind of intermediate. I don't really push my skills to the level of above average, and I feel like it's almost like a mental block that I have. It almost feels like when I get better at something, I'm like, okay, that's enough, that's too much. I'm almost afraid to succeed at something, and that's kind of a common psychological block that people struggle with, like the fear of success, the fear of getting good at something, because you fear change. Because you get very good at something, it means that some kind of change will have to be applied. Like you will have to suddenly have less time for yourself because you have to do interviews, and there'll be like more people wanting a piece of you, and fame, and it's sometimes not the best thing. You just kind of want to stay at the state you're at. So I don't know, I almost feel like this, if I keep going with this, because to be honest, I think if I didn't make these into the videos that then I put on YouTube, I probably wouldn't have enough incentive to just meditate drawing like this. Who knows, maybe I would. But I probably, very likely, would not talk while drawing. I just kind of think out loud, meditate. My thoughts would have the form of kind of wordless impulses rather than forming them into words. And words help because talking helps you slow down your thought process, because your mind has to wait for your sentence to be finished and for the words to be worded, to be pronounced, and that way your brain doesn't rush. It's a great way to deal with rushing thoughts. If you have intrusive thoughts or rushing thoughts, try putting your thoughts into words, and just make sure to speak out loud when you're alone, or even when you are on the street. Just put your dummy headphones on and pretend that they're on the phone. It's totally normal these days to see someone just talking to the air outside, because now we have phones. And when we didn't have cell phones, seeing someone talk to themselves would be the sign of probably someone on drugs or schizophrenic, or someone hearing voices. Now it's like, it's almost, you can run a statistic of psychosis that you encounter on the streets dropped because less and less people talk to themselves. And that's because the people who actually do talk to themselves blend in. They seem as if they were on the phone. So yeah, you can just talk to yourself while walking, or you can pretend that you're making a video, or why pretend? You can actually make a video of you talking to the camera, and it's kind of increasingly more common way of kind of journaling people do. Talk to the camera, use words, learn how to articulate, how to express yourself with words, and at the same time have a record of what you are thinking about. And then sometimes, of course, if you are not worried about exposure, you can post it, publish it on YouTube, and many people actually found it very helpful to do vlogs, to journal, and to capture their thoughts and then publish them, and then based on that kind of build some sort of philosophy around their lives. And that's what happened to me here. I kind of made that step towards publishing my meditations, my thought processes, and also the drawing process with speaking. And that way, for that brief period of time, sometimes it's an hour, sometimes hour and a half, I'm able to slow down my racing brain. So hold up brain, I have to express my thoughts through speaking, which means you have to wait with those thoughts for me to finish my sentence. Because brain is very rude, it can interrupt. It interrupts you all the time. It mansplains things to you, or it keeps you awake at night. It almost sometimes feels like the kind of feeling me and my brain is like almost like working against some adversary. But it's kind of weird because there's just the brain. There's no you and the brain. It's all your mind. And your mind has this ability to create a split where you feel like you are either collaborating with your mind or working against it, or it is playing tricks on you. It's like you can talk to your brain, like quiet brain. So it's kind of weird because what we do is our brain talks to itself. And I don't know if there's any other animal that can find that sort of split within themselves. Me and my brain. Who's me without my brain? I'm just blood pumping machine. There's no thoughts, no consciousness. And I think that the death of consciousness is the most common worry when people worry about death. And sometimes I have beef with the Buddhist teachers for saying that, everything flows, nothing is ever born, nothing ever dies, because it's all in a constant change and flux. And the cloud becomes rain, the rain nourishes the soil, and then the soil helps the plants grow, and then you eat the plants, and the cloud becomes part of you, and it's all great. And that's supposed to be like a remedy to fear of death, but it doesn't really cut it for me, because even though I know that maybe at some point, obviously at some point I will become compost, and I will nourish the earth and maybe help some mushrooms and plants grow, maybe even a tree. Although the way people bury themselves is just horrid, because they create this mausolea, and sometimes they even purposefully create the separation of the body from the environment. Like they bury their bodies in metal coffins or concrete, and there's really no way for the nutrients to reach to re-enter the cycle, and it's just misguided. So this is my testament. If I go, I want people to make sure that I'm buried in a way that my nutrients, the byproducts of my decay, will nourish the environment. But yeah, it's not really helping me, because I still mourn when someone close to me dies. I don't care that they become flowers. I don't want flowers. I want their sense of humor. I want their personality, their presence, and it's gone. So yeah, it doesn't hurt me. Oh look, Your grandmother became a cloud. So what? I don't want a cloud. I want my grandmother to crack the jokes and add butter to my milk. My grandma would be like, I added butter to your milk. She would give me like warm milk. And I think that was because people, after the war, people were subjected to this propaganda of like, eat a lot of fat. Fat is healthy, butter, lard. Put the color in your cheeks. Speaking of dying, I've had some kind of devastating news today. Anthony Stewart Head, who was the actor and singer, died today at the age of 72. He was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and recently he played a bad guy in a Ted Lasso show. And he died apparently of pneumonia. So random, stupid. It's like, it sometimes feels like the wrong people go away, and those people that you would rather exchange for them persist. But there's no trade. It's the way it is. So yeah, Anthony Stewart Head became a part of a cloud, but I don't care because he's gone. So even as something else, it's still in the realm of pretty much inanimate objects, or even if they're living things, they're flowers or animals that benefit from the decay and nutrients, and there's the essence that breaks apart. The atoms get rearranged. So what bunch of atoms that constituted a person break apart and move on to be something else. And it's the constant exchange and flow of things. Well, I thought I was feeling shallow today, like it ended up being really morbid and deep. But that's the thing, you never know what will be the theme if it's improvised. And because we don't know what happens, if there is anything that happens after we die, because we have the sequel mentality. We want things to continue. When our favorite TV show ends, we want next season, and then if it's the last season, we're feeling disappointed. Or if there's a great movie, we're awaiting second part, sequel. We don't want things to end, so we kind of come up with the idea of afterlife as a sequel. It's like, oh, this can't be over. I have a very strong sense of consciousness, and I don't believe that it can just go poof. But every night you fall asleep and it does go poof for a few hours. Where is it then? You kind of are not there, right? So that's how it works. You're just not there, and sometimes you wonder, why can't the end be the end? Maybe we don't need a sequel. Is it so hard to imagine that this life ends and that's it? So instead we engage in wishful thinking and come up with all sorts of theories, reincarnation, heaven, or even resurrection and living on earth as paradise on earth. The different beliefs that kind of really prey on the uncertainty of what comes after. And that's a trap, because nobody knows. And there are those who claim they know. And obviously, if you don't do this or that, then you die and you go to a bad place where you'll be tortured for eternity. So you better behave, so you better do what we say. because you don't know what happens after death, after you die. We do. They claim they do, but of course they don't. Nobody knows. Nobody ever had any idea. Even those who claim that they had out-of-body experience, so-called clinical death. It may have felt like death, but it may have not been death, and the way body wanders, the mind wanders when the body fails, could resemble a kind of tunnel with light in the end. And people are like, oh, it checks out. Everybody has the same experience. Of course they do. Everybody has like dreams of flying. Nobody really asks why. Pretty much almost all people have the dream of flying or dream of losing their teeth. It's kind of universal dream people have, losing their teeth or being naked in public. So like, why is that coincidence not such a big deal? While people claim like, oh, everybody's having the same experience when they, quote, die and then come back. And then they embellish it. I should have warned you. I probably have to do a trigger warning, because I should have said in the very beginning, in a solemn tone of voice,
Let's talk about death.
and that way you will know what to expect. So like, if you are having any thoughts, let me know. Are you afraid of death? If not, how did you overcome that fear? What helps you? What kind of thought process helps you get rid of that fear? And I'm kind of on and off. I think on some level I eliminated the fear of being dead, the fear of death. The only fear is getting there, getting to be dead, which is that transition, especially when the result is, the death results from some kind of sickness or trouble or even painful accident. That's what I'm worried about, not about being dead, because being dead is like sleeping. So I'm not worried about being unconscious at night for a few hours. And also, I don't worry about falling asleep because it's painless, although sometimes I wish falling asleep was easier. But dying is a little bit, because it's finite, you kind of mourning your time on earth, and you don't want to go. It's another thing. It's not just the fear of suffering, it's more like, I don't want to go yet. I haven't done all the things yet. And of course there are some remedies to fear of death, which is, one of it is uploading your consciousness to the computer, which is, in my opinion, it's silly, because you upload the bits of information that imitate you. It's not you. You won't be conscious. You will create an AI that will parrot you as a person. It will create a imagined view of what it thinks you would be like continuing. And of course it doesn't know, because it will be based on just a memory of you, and that the real you would be changing. So in 5-10 years the AI would be the same, whereas the real you may have been changed 180 degrees. Many people change on a dime when they're getting older, change their political views, their view on things, their values, their behavior even. Because change is constant. And the AI, the uploaded version of yourself, maybe there would be a way to program a change, like predictive pattern in which the program would predict in what way you would change as a person, but it still wouldn't be the change that you would have undergone if you were alive during that time. So yeah, there's really no way to copy yourself, I don't think. It's sort of like trying to copy something that's not there yet, and you don't ever know what it will be like in the future. And then the remedy to fear of death that I feel like it works best for me, in my opinion, is to not stray from the topic of death, to actually dwell on it, to think about it more, spend a certain amount of time within your day, give some thought to passing. That way you expose yourself to it. It's an exposure therapy. You start getting familiar with the idea. It's almost like a rehearsal. And of course, another remedy would be to never learn about death, which is impossible. But maybe in some kind of thought experiment, you could imagine a human who was born in total isolation, never met any other human, any other animal. And it doesn't have any reference to what it is to die. And nobody ever told that human that there's such a thing as death. And the human lives with totally oblivious to the idea of passing or even aging, because maybe there's no mirrors in the room where that person is, and then that person would die and without even knowing what's happening. So that's one remedy to fear of death, but it's not realistic. So since we can't really be oblivious to the idea of death, I think the second best solution is to actually expose yourself to the idea on purpose, profusely, a lot more than you would like. So for a lot of people, it's actually people who actually work with around death, like death doulas, and people who work at the graveyards are more okay with the idea of passing because they're familiar with it. It's sort of like learning to not be afraid of spiders. The more you spend time with spiders, the more they become commonplace for you, and you're starting to feel okay with getting close to them and maybe eventually handling them in your hand. And then it's just any Tuesday, you just grab a spider in your hand. It doesn't bother you anymore. So that kind of works in all sorts of ways. Exposure therapy. And the more you avoid stuff, the more you're afraid. So avoiding the subject of death will make you more afraid of it. It's a paradox. Avoidance causes anxiety. You start to be afraid of going outside. The less you go outside, the more afraid you are. Agoraphobia is out of control. All right, and I think that the time passed the amount of time that I can replace the broken footage with, and now I can start speaking. And so for about 18 minutes I have been drawing quietly, and it was a different experience. I didn't really try to trigger thinking, and I managed to eliminate thinking altogether. It was all lines, nothing but lines. And then my mind didn't wander as much, and when I talk, I tend to take a little bit less attention from the drawing, away from the drawing, and the drawing becomes a little bit more sloppy while I'm able to talk about various things that come to my mind. So where were we? I don't even remember. I know we discussed passing and death, the difference between being dead and the process of getting there, which is actually the difference of whether you have a fear or not. So fearing not existing, to me, isn't that strong as the fear of suffering that comes before non-existing, or potential suffering. And I think that's where we were. I started drawing more textures in this part of the drawing, a little bit more fibrous textures, which is a great exercise. I felt like when I finished the last part, I was in the middle of something, saying something somehow important, but I'm not going to look up. Avoidance causes anxiety. Where I was before this, and I also realized that I had to fix that footage, keep the audio, replace the footage, and then I also know that after I do that, the sounds, ambient sounds of the pencil lines, leaving the mark with the pencil, won't match the visual part. But that's okay. And also the phone is not shaking anymore because the contraption to which the phone is attached doesn't touch the table, and when I was shaking the table with my hand, the phone was shaking. It was probably very annoying and motion sickness inducing. Footage, even though I'm assuming a lot of people will tune out and just fall asleep to it, I feel like footage is also important, the visual side of it. So hopefully that fixes it. And we are almost halfway through. And now I'm not sure if I'm going to publish this video as one chunk or two parts. If it's less than 90 minutes, it will be one. And you might hear a washing machine in the background. The domestic sounds. And no trains because it's Saturday, although I just heard a train. Even though it's Saturday, the trains are still going. The only time I get to sleep well is weekend, Saturday night, Sunday morning, and Sunday night. But who cares? People don't really pay attention to getting a good sleep. It's being perceived lazy. You're a lazy person if all you care about is sleep and food. There's a trope in the movies when someone is hungry all the time or likes to eat. They usually are a character that lacks personality and is kind of weak-minded, susceptible to addiction, or all you think about is food. Yes, of course, because food is life. Whatever you put in your mouth determines what kind of day you're going to have, what kind of life. Same goes for sleep. You sleep too much. All you think about is sleeping. Yeah, because it's darn important. And I spent a lot of time with other humans that don't really honor the necessity for sleep. They themselves didn't want to sleep at night, and they wouldn't let others sleep. I don't know, I think I might just finish up half of the drawing and call it a day, and then record part 2. I feel like I have to warm up with my thinking and talking, because even though yesterday I felt like I felt sharper and I felt like I had more to say, and more kind of, the more I was saying, the more I was able to figure out and kind of come to some conclusions that were interesting. But today it's like, kind of tired, and today I had a kind of an idea that would be kind of cool to try to pull off, which is to find a space in our building. We live in like a loft artist building with close to 200 units, and there's a lot of spaces in our building that I don't even know about. So I thought maybe if there's a space that I can rent, which just has a room and some plumbing hooked up, I would create a green room, kind of a jungle room, where I would have all the aquariums, all the plants, maybe terrariums too, and it would be kind of like a zoo, except it would be more like an imitation of nature for our neighbors to enjoy. When they feel stressed, they can just come in and spend some time in nature. Especially during the winter, it would be a really great way to relax, to come and read. Maybe there would be like a coffee machine and a bunch of books on the shelves, tables. Maybe people could just do some work there. The only thing is that sometimes success can be a failure, because if you create a venue that has low capacity and then it becomes very popular, you just are overwhelmed with requests and crowds coming in, and you can't handle it. I've seen that a lot with endeavors, restaurants that are very tiny but so delicious food is served in there, that there are huge lines and there's just like 3 tiny tables in the restaurant, so they kind of suffer from their own success, overcapacity. Oh, and once in a while, I think every month in our building, we have an open mic. And this time I read a story. It was like a goofy science fiction story I kind of enjoyed writing, about a shapeshifter. And the doomsday device. It was quite fun, except this month so many people signed up for reading that it took like close to 2.5 hours for it to be done. Usually it was just like an hour, and there were maybe 5 or 6 readers, and this time it was pretty much twice as many. So like, it's great that the event gains popularity, but if it continues, they will have to rethink the sign-up process. They might have to limit it somehow. Limit it to like 7 readers per night, and then if you're late, you'll sign up late and you have to try again next week. Because if it tends to be too long, with so many readers, it's hard to process all this information, and you kind of forget who read what and like what it was about. And one thing I don't enjoy about open mics when I'm reading is I'm too nervous and I'm too preoccupied with what I'm about to read, and I can't enjoy other people's stories or writings or poems because I'm so busy. My mind is so busy with thinking about how am I going to read it, am I going to be fit within the limited time, or am I going to stutter? It's really hard to concentrate on other people's creations, and to some extent we are all sort of like that as artists. We tend to really focus on our own work, and there's a lot of artists that don't really pay attention to other artists' work because they don't have time or bandwidth. So like, how loud is that machine? Still loud. Alright, the circumstances force me to call it part 1, then I'm going to continue when it's quieter.